Do you really think your family would survive a blackout that lasts not hours, but months? Be honest. Do you think the pantry snacks in your kitchen, the bottled water under the sink, and the dusty flashlight in the junk drawer will keep you alive when the entire grid collapses? Because here's the truth. Nobody wants to face when the lights die for good. Everything you depend on, water pumps, hospital machines, refrigeration, the banking system stops instantly. And history already proves what happens next. In Venezuela's 2019 blackout, violent crime surged by 300% in just the first week. After Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, hospitals ran out of fuel within 72 hours, and thousands died not from the storm but from the silent collapse of electricity. The U.S. Congressional EMP Commission wasn't guessing when they warned that up to 90% of Americans could be dead within a year of a nationwide grid failure. That's their number, not mine. And here's the part that should keep you awake tonight. It won't just be the unprepared masses who die, it will be the families who followed their instincts. Because in a blackout, the very first thing you'll want to do, the natural reaction that feels like survival, is often the exact move that gets you killed. Instinct is for comfort. Survival demands the opposite. So in this video, we're going to break down the 10 fatal instincts that will sabotage your family the second the power goes out. Ignore this, and you'll be waiting for a rescue that's never coming. Understand it, and you'll have something priceless when the grid falls. Control over chaos. 10. Running straight to the fridge or freezer. Here's the tragic mistake nearly every family will make the first hour of a blackout. Rushing to the refrigerator or freezer, flinging the door open, and grabbing everything they can in panic. It feels logical. You want to save the food. But in that moment, you just guaranteed it will all rot faster. The USDA estimates that an unopened fridge can hold safe temperatures for only about 4 hours, while a full freezer can last up to 48 hours. But that's with the door kept shut. Every unnecessary peak dumps cold air and accelerates spoilage. After Hurricane Katrina, surveys showed that 80% of households lost the majority of their refrigerated food within 3 days, most of it wasted not because the power was gone, but because of panicked repeated opening. And here's the kicker, when food scarcity kicks in, that spoiled chicken isn't just lost calories, it's a pathogen bomb waiting to poison your family. Studies in Puerto Rico's blackout revealed foodborne illness cases spiked 40% in the first week due to poor refrigeration discipline. The instinct to grab food now feels like survival, but the math proves otherwise. In reality, discipline, keeping doors shut, rationing strategically, and transferring critical items to coolers with ice extends your lifeline by days. In the survival game, days are everything. 9. Relying on flashlights and phone screens. Another deadly instinct, grabbing your phone or a drawer flashlight the second the lights cut out. It feels safe, it feels immediate, but it's suicide by slow battery death. Phones drain shockingly fast when used as emergency lanterns. A single night of flashlight mode burns through most batteries, leaving you cut off from all communication, assuming cell towers still function, which they usually don't. FEMA data from prolonged outages shows that over 65% of households completely drain their phone batteries within the first 48 hours, leaving them without even the possibility of emergency alerts. And as for flashlights, unless you've stockpiled hundreds of extra batteries, they're a temporary placebo. During Venezuela's 2019 blackout, packs of Day A batteries skyrocketed to $15–20 on the black market, more valuable than gasoline per ounce. People who leaned on flashlights first spent their reserves in days, while neighbors who rationed carefully stretched theirs for weeks. Even worse, light is a beacon. Criminals in collapsed societies are drawn to illumination like moths, targeting homes that shine when others stay dark. The instinct to flood your house with light screams resources here. In reality, smart survivors use dim, concealed light sources like candles or solar yard lamps, preserving batteries for critical communication gear. 8. Rushing to the nearest store. The third instinct that could doom your family is the mad dash to the local grocery or gas station the second the blackout begins. It feels smart, you think you'll beat the crowd. But history says otherwise. Within hours of a major outage, stores transform into war zones. After the 2003 Northeast blackout, shelves in New York were stripped bare in less than 12 hours. In Venezuela's 2019 grid collapse, supermarkets were looted on day one, with desperate mobs breaking in by the hundreds. And here's the data no one admits. The average U.S. grocery store holds only 3 days of supply under normal demand. Panic buying and looting collapse that timeline to hours. By running out with everyone else, you expose yourself to chaos, violence, and empty shelves. Worse, you abandon your home, the only place you can defend and secure supplies you already own. Sociologists analyzing disaster responses found that families who stayed home and consolidated resources had 30% higher survival outcomes than those who left to scavenge immediately. The instinct to run out just to get more is fueled by fear, but it guarantees risk. The smart play is to lock down what you have, secure water first, and only move later when chaos has burned itself out and you can recon safely. 7. Fleeing the city immediately. The Hollywood instinct is clear. The second the power dies, grab your bug-out bag, pile the family in the car, and escape the city before it gets dangerous. Sounds heroic, feels smart, but here's the brutal truth. Within hours of a national-scale blackout, highways will be nothing but frozen parking lots. Why? Because modern cars with computerized ignitions and fuel injection systems are vulnerable to EMP effects, and even if your car still runs, the gas stations are instantly dead. No pumps, no credit card machines, no resupply. The Department of Energy estimates that in a catastrophic blackout, 90% of gas stations would be inoperable within 24 hours. During Hurricane Rita's evacuation of Houston, traffic backup stretched 100 miles, with thousands of cars stranded out of gas, supplies abandoned, and families trapped in the open heat. And here's the darkest layer. Fleeing too soon paints you as prey. Desperate people on clogged roads see you as a rolling stockpile. Studies after Katrina showed that nearly 1 in 5 vehicles attempting early evacuation were robbed, either by gangs or by opportunists. The instinct to bolt is strong, but survival odds favor those who shelter in place first, stockpiling, securing, and only leaving once the initial wave of panic and violence has burned itself out. 6. Crowding together in one room. It feels instinctively safe in a blackout to gather the whole family in one room, huddling under blankets, keeping all eyes on one another. And yes, psychologically it provides comfort, but physically, it's a disaster waiting to happen. By concentrating everyone in one space, you create a single point of failure. One spark, one candle tipping, one carbon monoxide leak, and the entire family goes down together. After the 1998 Quebec ice storm blackout, dozens of families died because they crowded into living rooms with propane heaters, never realizing the ventilation was insufficient. Carbon monoxide deaths tripled in that first week alone. The CDC warns that grouping in poorly ventilated rooms during outages is the leading cause of blackout-related fatalities, not starvation. Worse, clustering all supplies in one space makes theft catastrophic. If looters break through a single door, they take everything in one sweep. Historically, during the siege of Sarajevo, families who spread out storing food in multiple hidden caches throughout the house were 3 times more likely to survive looting raids. The instinct to crowd together feels primal, but real survival means dispersal. Rotate guard shifts, split resources, and spread out sleeping arrangements. Comfort kills, strategy saves. 5. Lighting up the house like normal. Here's the deadliest instinct of all, pretending life is still normal when the lights go out. Most families, terrified of the dark, flood their homes with every candle, lantern, and flashlight they can find, trying to recreate the glow of electricity. But in a blackout, light is a signal flare. It screams, "We have supplies, we are home, we are vulnerable." After the 2017 blackout in Puerto Rico, neighborhoods that glowed at night were targeted for theft at twice the rate of darkened homes. And it's not just human predators. Light destroys your night vision, making you blind the second the source flickers out. Military studies show it takes the human eye up to 45 minutes to fully adapt to darkness, but only a fraction of a second to lose it when exposed to bright light. Survivors in Venezuela's crisis reported that families who kept their homes dark, relying on dim shielded lamps or blackout curtains, were far less likely to be attacked. Lighting up like normal is psychological denial. It makes you feel safe while making you exponentially more unsafe. True survival means mastering the dark, controlling light, shielding it, rationing it. In a world without power, the brightest house is always the first house to fall. 4. Running generators immediately. The very first instinct of the prepared family is often the most dangerous. Dragging out that shiny gas generator, yanking the cord, and bathing the house in artificial light while neighbors stumble in darkness. It feels like victory. In reality, it's suicide by noise and fumes. Gas generators can be heard blocks away in the stillness of a dead grid. To the desperate, that mechanical roar is a dinner bell. Resources here, fuel here, food here. After Hurricane Sandy, generator theft skyrocketed so aggressively that FEMA recommended people chain them to concrete slabs to prevent raids. Worse, carbon monoxide poisoning is a silent killer. The CDC reported that in the first week of Sandy's blackout, 81% of carbon monoxide deaths came from generators placed too close to homes. And here's the kicker: fuel doesn't last. The Department of Energy estimates that most households with generators ran out of gasoline within 72 hours, leaving behind useless hulks and drawing attention they could no longer defend. That instinct to power up is driven by denial, a refusal to accept collapse. But in a months-long blackout, burning precious resources for a few nights of light is like setting your survival clock to zero. Silence, darkness, and conservation win, not roaring engines. 3. Calling for help and waiting. The most heartbreaking instinct is also the deadliest, reaching for the phone, calling 911, or waiting for government rescue that isn't coming. In modern life, we're trained to outsource emergencies. Fire? Call the fire department. Illness? Call an ambulance. But in a total grid collapse, those systems don't just slow, they vanish. During the 1977 New York blackout, 911 lines were overwhelmed in under 3 hours, leaving desperate callers on hold while looting spread like wildfire. In Puerto Rico's 2017 blackout, hospitals ran out of fuel for generators within days, leading to an estimated 2,975 deaths not from the storm itself, but from the collapse of emergency services. And in an EMP scenario, phones themselves are dead weight. No cell towers, no dispatch, no signal. The instinct to wait for help is a death sentence, because waiting wastes the most precious commodity in survival time. Sociologists studying Katrina found that families who waited for FEMA, instead of acting immediately, were twice as likely to suffer fatal outcomes. In blackouts, the cavalry isn't coming. You are the cavalry. The moment the lights die, the clock starts, and the families that move immediately, securing water, rationing food, reinforcing defenses, are the ones that live. 2. Burning through food and water immediately. Here's a fatal impulse almost every family falls into: cooking one last big meal when the fridge dies, or guzzling bottled water with the mindset that more will somehow appear. It feels comforting, it feels normal, but it destroys your long-term odds. FEMA guidelines state that the average human needs 1 gallon of water per day for drinking and sanitation, yet in crisis surveys, families without ration discipline burn through their entire bottled water reserves in under 72 hours. That's suicide by hydration. During the 2019 blackout in Venezuela, desperate families who drank without rationing were reduced to scooping river water filled with pathogens. Cholera outbreaks followed within weeks. And food? The instinct to feast on perishables collapses into waste. After the Fukushima disaster, studies found that households who rationed carefully stretched food stores to last 3 times longer than those who indulged early. Survival isn't about comfort today, it's about calories tomorrow. The instinct to eat like it's still normal life is denial. The discipline to ration, to measure every ounce of water, every calorie of food, to stretch supplies week by week, is the thin red line between survival and starvation. In blackouts, rationing isn't cruelty, it's mercy. 1. Leaving everything unlocked. The most fatal instinct of all, assuming your neighborhood is still safe and leaving doors, windows, sheds, and garages unlocked in the first 48 hours of a blackout. It feels natural. Why waste time locking everything when the power will come back soon? But blackouts rewrite human behavior at terrifying speed. Crime studies after the 1977 New York City blackout showed that burglary incidents skyrocketed 4-fold in just 24 hours of darkness. In Puerto Rico's 2017 blackout, looting gangs armed with machetes began targeting unsecured homes by the second night. And here's the pattern. Predators look for the easy score first. An open shed full of tools, an unlocked garage with fuel cans, a door that doesn't resist a push, that's where they strike. Families who fortified early boarding windows, locking doors, even just visibly reinforcing entrances were often bypassed in favor of softer targets. Security experts call this deterrence by hardness. The instinct to treat a blackout like a temporary inconvenience blinds families to the real danger: human opportunism. In survival, defense comes before comfort. If your doors aren't locked, your supplies aren't yours. In a world without power, the strongest instinct to cultivate is suspicion, because trust won't keep you alive, but a locked door will. So here's the question you need to carry with you: when the lights go out, will you follow instinct or will you fight it? Because history has already shown us the truth: instinct is what kills. Discipline, preparation, and strategy are what keep people alive. The blackout isn't a question of if, it's a question of when. And when it comes, you won't rise to the occasion, you'll fall to the level of your training. So what level are you really at?